Ossoff, you are recognized for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, I know you touched on this issue a moment ago. I want to raise it again with you, Dr. Shogun. That's the backlog in military service records. Veterans across Georgia, across the country, are deeply frustrated by the interminable delays accessing their military records. And they need these records for their VA health care benefits. They need these records for their employment and educational benefits. I introduced last week the Bipartisan Access for Veterans to Records Act to try to address this backlog so that veterans in Georgia and across the country can access their records. If confirmed, will you commit to working with me to eliminate the backlog of military service records requests at NPRC, and not just to working with me, but to putting it at the very top of your agenda?
Yes, thank you, Senator, for that question. It is at the very top of my agenda if I am confirmed as Archivist of the United States. And in fact, if I am confirmed as Archivist of the United States, I will make my first trip as Archivist of the United States to St. Louis, to the NPRC, so I can meet once again with the leadership there and the hardworking staff that are attempting to reduce the backlog. There has been great progress made thus far. And I look forward to finding creative solutions within federal law and regulations in order to reduce that backlog at a faster pace.
I appreciate that commitment, Dr. Shogun. And making that commitment here today will mean a lot to veterans in Georgia who frankly are skeptical after years of dealing with this that there can be a change. But there must be a change. Veterans deserve timely access to their records. And I'm going to ask for a further commitment, which is that once you have had the opportunity to meet again with the folks at the NPRC and to get your bearings in your first 4 or 5 weeks in office, should you be confirmed, that you will timely submit to this committee your assessment of the drivers of this backlog and a specific plan to eliminate it. Will you make that commitment?
Yes, thank you, Senator. I am willing to make that commitment. I will make myself available what I've learned. And just a further comment on that, I mean, obviously the first thing that has to be done if I'm confirmed as Archivist is removing the backlog. But there has to be a second step, which is to make sure that backlog is not created in future circumstances. We hope that the pandemic is over, but we can never predict what is coming down the road in the future. So I believe there has been great progress by the Department of Veterans Affairs in moving to digitize those records in a timely fashion and in a reasonable priority. And once those records are digitized and placed in the cloud, then NPRC staff will be able to access them, and I think the requests will be processed much faster in the future. So I think there's a good end to this story if we can get there.
Thank you, Dr. Shogun. I understand there is also a backlog of immigration-related record requests known as A-files managed by NARA. Are you familiar with this?
Yes, Senator, I am in a briefing document. I'm not intimately familiar, but I am aware of it.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask as well that, and we can have our teams work together to define a specific deadline for this, but that should you be confirmed, similarly, once you've had the opportunity to assess in detail the nature of that challenge, that you'll submit to the committee a proposal for addressing that backlog. Will you make that commitment?
Yes, thank you, Senator. I am willing to follow up and make that commitment.
I appreciate that. You, of course, are familiar with this from some of your past work, but you will have some cybersecurity challenges to manage should you be confirmed, particularly as more records are digitized. How are you thinking about handling the threats to cybersecurity that will present themselves at the National Archives?
Yes, thank you for that question. As I am aware that there has been an Inspector General, an IG report for the National Archives concerning cybersecurity, and I would plan to review that report and find out firsthand what is being done to address those issues or concerns in a timely fashion.
Okay, well, I know that the chairman and members of this committee are deeply concerned with cybersecurity for federal agencies. So please let us know what resources or authorities may be helpful should you be confirmed for that mission. Finally, I want to bring to your attention something that is of deep and particular concern to my constituents in Georgia and a particular concern across the American South. And that is the disposition of civil rights cold cases. The lynchings, the murders, the abductions that took place in the Jim Crow era and before in the state of Georgia and across the South, for which there has never been justice. And the descendants of those who were murdered, who are still crying out for justice. I have introduced the Bipartisan Civil Rights Cold Case Records Review Board Support Act, and I'd like your commitment to work with my office, to work with that Cold Case Record Review Board to make every resource at NARA available to pursue the truth and to pursue justice for those who were lynched, for those who were abducted, for those who were assaulted in the state of Georgia, across the South, and across the country, and ensure that our quest for justice is not abandoned. Will you make that commitment?
Yes, Senator, I look forward to working with you and your staff on this issue, if I am confirmed.
Thank you, Dr. Shogan. It's really important, and I appreciate your testimony today. I appreciate the rest of the panel. Congratulations for the nominations, and I yield.
Thank you, Senator Ossoff.